Hey, Zach, do you know what this is?
I don't, Aaron. What is it?
Let me come into the light really quickly, and you'll probably figure out what have I got in my hand. It's a crowbar.
Oh.
Zach, this is Half-Life 2, which I know that you have never played.
It's one of the things I'm very ashamed of.
This is a classic game. This is the first real PC game that I played in high school. And you told me, I think, that you played a little bit of Half-Life 1.
Yeah, I don't remember if I finished it or not, but I played most of it.
Half-Life 2 is seminal for a number of reasons. I mean, it's one of the most famous games. But something that it really, really showcases is the Source engine and all the physics therein and lighting and stuff. I mean, the Source engine is... look at that. What do you think that is, Zach? What could that be? What's that giant tower? Look at how cinematic.
Yeah.
What's that tower, do you think?
Are we in Dubai? It
We're
looks
not in
kind
Dubai.
of like looks kind of like that one tower in Dubai.
The Burj or whatever it's called, the one that Tom Cruise climbed on?
Yeah, the Tom Cruise Tower in Dubai. They
It is not
renamed
that.
it.
Did they?
I think so.
So a lot of things about Half-Life 2, like Half-Life 1 was very important for a number of reasons. It had that crazy opening where you're just riding on a train for a super long time,
Yeah.
which had never been done before. And a bunch of other cinematic things. It didn't rely on cutscenes really, you were just in it all the time. And this is very similar to that, but in a brand new engine that has physics puzzles, good lighting. I mean, there have been so many updates to this base game. Like, there's now high dynamic range lighting and things like that. This is... So, another thing you're going to notice about this is an old school game in that there are chapters that have to load. So, you'll just be walking. There's, going to be a hallway after a big action scene, and you start walking in the hallway, and then it loads. But we're on chapter 2 or 3, I want to say. I think 3 or maybe 3. And you don't get the gravity gun until much later. It's a very I'm going to use the word cinematic too much in this video, but it's a very cinematic campaign. And there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of running things. A thing that will happen in Half-Life is usually you'll see something at the beginning of a chapter, it'll be with you through the whole chapter, and then it will come to a head at the end of a chapter. So later on we're going to see a helicopter that is presented and then is with you for a couple of chapters, and then eventually you fight. And there's a lot of not immersive, but narrative threads throughout this that you kind of just have to... It's all up to you, your own interpretation, or your own observation, I guess. It's how observant are you and how much of the story are you going to get? Or you just want to run around and shoot. That's a little health thing. You can get health.
Yeah, they had those in the first half of it.
That's right, they did. I'm not going to fight those guys. I'm just going to go on this water. Look at these water effects. I remember when I was playing this as a child, the water reflections just blew my mind. And we're going to get a little bit of story right here. The story is basically presented to you. You go into little traps. Look, you can see the G-Man on that TV. Basically, the way that story is presented to you is you'll drop into a place that you cannot escape, and then people are just talking at you, because you are silent, obviously, of course. But that's a Vortigaunt, and you may be thinking to yourself, Zach, I remember in Half-Life 1, those guys were the bad guys, but guess what? Now they're good guys, and also they speak English and give you little presents of green stuff.
What?
Be careful now.
Look at that.
Really can't afford to get noticed.
He's talking about how free man you are, and yeah, there's a lot of Half-Life is so good because there's so much mystery involved in it. Who are the Vortigaunts? Who's in the Citadel and things like that, and why are the Vortigaunts good now? There's probably deeper lore you can dig into, but
Wait, so
just
they don't explain any of that?
not super. No, they don't really. It's sort of
And-
left up to you to figure out, kind of.
And that's a positive.
I think it is. It's sort of I mean, if you were watching Lost back in the day and they just stumbled upon a sheet of paper that was here's what the smoke monster is. That would have not been compelling, I would think.
Well, yeah, but most of the time, at least in a like TV show or a movie, in a cinematic medium, they would show not tell that way.
This game is all about showing, not telling, as far as gameplay. Like you noticed back there, we were talking, but there was a little bird on the ground, and it flew up, and then it was caught in one of those ceiling grabber things. And that's to teach you that, like, you should not touch those ceiling grabber things. And
Yeah. So stuff like that was why the first Half-Life was really smart in its game design.
yes,
And it's like how it sort of taught you to solve the puzzles and environmental challenges and things like that.
and that carried over to this as well.
Right.
Here's another thing. It's very like engrossing to play. Like I was gonna get footage of this, and I meant to only play for like 15 minutes, but I ended up playing for like 45 minutes just because I wanted to keep going.
Yeah.
Something else
Yeah.
that does really well that I think games don't do that well in this day and age is like, well, I guess the most current Doom did it well, but you have the pistol for a long time, and you just have the pistol. And when you get a weapon, that's basically it for a while. Like they really temper the getting new weapons, and it's a slow drip, but it's very like up until the end you're getting new stuff, which is great.
Yeah, I feel like in modern games it's become this thing where they feel like they have to keep throwing like new items and weapons at you every few minutes, or like people won't be satisfied.
I mean, and also there's the old Halo thing where like now you can only hold like 2 weapons at a time for some reason. It's more like realistic, I guess, but this is old school. Where you can carry as many weapons as you want, and you can cycle through them, and you're always getting different kinds of ammo, and you'll see those little lambdas everywhere, and when you see them, that means there's like a hidden cache somewhere that you need to go look around. So a couple times in this video, you'll see that I'm... Look at these animations. These animations blew my mind when I was a child. Like, Jesus. Physics, look at all that physics.
Yeah. It's definitely doing things that probably were not very common in those days.
Yeah, like, I mean, this is a little inside baseball, but we just recorded that Brutal Doom. And that Brutal Doom was great and somewhat modern, but, like, going from Half-Life 1 to this is, like, such a marked difference. Like, this was not like anything on the market. Because this was the first real showcase of the Source engine, which was, of course, used for so many things afterward. And, like, Source 2 has been on the horizon forever, and we have not seen anything about it, I don't think. As there hasn't been any news about Source 2 recently, has there?
Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, Valve doesn't really make games anymore, which is very unfortunate, but... It's,
Yeah,
of course,
because everybody is all about waiting on Half-Life 3.
yes, I was going to say, we should talk about the elephant in the room, Half-Life 3. One of the... I mean, longer than, like, Duke Nukem Forever or anything. Like, this is... the game everyone wants to come out, and it probably never will come out. I think recently there was the guy who was the writer in the Half-Life series put out like what would have been the script or like a synopsis basically for Half-Life 3 because he was pretty sure no one was ever going to make it. And he changed the names and gingers of people, I think. But yeah, Half-Life 3 is probably not going to happen, which is unfortunate. But
Well, the thing is, they face the struggle of now that they've waited for so long, it's one of those situations where they couldn't possibly make anything that would satisfy people.
I mean, everyone has always speculated because it's Valve and they have the Vive that Half-Life 3 is going to be the first legit, like, full-length AAA VR shooter title. But who's to say?
That would make sense.
That could be the only thing, because like this was basically just a showcase for their new engine and how great everything was, and it was a great showcase, and it was everyone's game of the year. But the Half-Life series, I feel like in a way, needs to be so impressive in some sort of like technical showcase that like current gen, they have to like radically change the paradigm of everything, you know?
But I wonder if some of it's not like a little too cryptic, where like it doesn't draw people in because people like it doesn't tell people enough. Like, do you find that's an issue?
I feel like, so the thing that pulls people in, or pulled people in, I should say, is the gameplay. Like, the shooting is very tight. The levels are very well designed. There's level variety, such that like there's 2 different vehicle sections in this game with 2 different kinds of vehicles. There's like a horror level. There's a bunch of different, very interesting, varied. Like, there's a crazy level where you are controlling these like giant arachnids, a la like what's that movie with like Rico and Rico? You know what I'm talking about? Starship Troopers.
Okay. I know Starship Troopers. I don't remember.
That was his name.
Rico.
And people are always like, Rico. Rico. Anyway, I don't remember what I'm talking about. Now I'm thinking about Starship Troopers. But yeah, there's a varied level design, things like that. So I would say the story is the least important thing. So it is very minimal. In fact, there's a part in one of the vehicle sections where you see a house in the distance, and you don't even have to go to that house. You can just drive right by that house. But if you go to that house, there's a whole little section that happens, and it's very cool, and interesting things happen. And a lot of this game is sort of just like, do you want to know more? And if you do, you can kind of search and look and kind of scrutinize. But if you don't, you just can run around and have this great shooter with interesting gameplay and well, physics. See, look, now I'm loading into a new zone, so it has to wait, which is something that I wish they would. I mean, obviously it's how it's built, so there's not a way they can probably get rid of that.
Like, I absolutely agree that from like a gameplay and like just a gameplay design or like level design aspect, like these are like they hold up, and there's like probably even today like above average just in terms of like the level design and all of this stuff. Like, it's like they are still like looked upon very, very favorably for that. I just wonder, like, if they were going to make a Half-Life 3, would they have to like sort of stick to that design philosophy where it's sort of like level design and like sort of tight gameplay and not necessarily, or at least like keeping very maybe old school and cryptic in terms of the story and like maybe lore and stuff like that? Or do they try to, I guess,
modernize?
Modernize a little bit and change things a little and be more friendly to a modern audience?
So this is a little moot because I don't think that we'll ever get a Half-Life 3. But if we did, I don't think we would see a cutscene in it. I think it would remain like health packs and like armor and the suit and the crowbar. Like, I really do think if we get one, it's going to be VR. So like cutscenes would not really work as far as like, because you're just going to be, they're not going to control your point of view at all. I think that the charm, I mean, let's look at the most recent Doom game that came out a couple of years ago. They went old school in a lot of ways, and people applauded them for it. Like, there's the reloading and the health system and the exploration and the map system. Like, I think that Valve is smart, and they realize, look at this physics puzzle. It's pretty good. I solved it just like, anyway.
Very good. That was one of the tougher ones.
Valve is smart, and like Portal is the same way, where like you can hunt behind some walls and discover things, and it's very similar storytelling.
I mean, I agree with you. I'm just trying to be the other side of the
devil's
conversation.
advocate, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm trying to get you to speak on behalf of Valve because I know how in tune you are with them.
Oh yeah, I know everything about Valve. Ask me anything about Valve.
When is Half-Life 3 coming out?
Never. Cards on the table. Like, it's definitely not happening anytime soon. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. They can't be that good at keeping secrets. We would hear some rumblings. These man hacks. Another interesting thing that they
Well, I mean,
invented
you
for
know
this game.
everything
There's so many
about
unique
Valve, so-
concepts. Could use my flashlight here. Another puzzle that I'm about to... Oh, yeah. I'm pretty good at solving puzzles. This little tower of barrels. Anyway, Half-Life 2 is a great game, and you should definitely play it. And maybe we should play it together. But,
I do plan to. So here's the thing. Like, I was waiting for like Half-Life 3 to be announced, and then I'd be like, oh, now I have to.
You will never. That will never happen. So you should just. And also, like, every Steam sale, Half-Life 2 is like literally 99 cents because they don't need to make money off of it anymore. So like, there's probably. I think there's usually a bundle where you get Half-Life 2, Portal 2, all the Half-Life 2 episodes, like everything for like $4. So everyone should play Half-Life 2. It's very good for a lot of reasons. And that's what I have to say. Zach.
Okay.
Anyway, Half-Life 2. This has been a blind spotting because Zach has never played Half-Life 2, but I think you should play Half-Life 2.
Stop saying it.
Goodbye.